Good morning. Okay, we're gonna do French knots today. So, we're gonna do some practicing before we put them on our fabric. Okay, let me just cut this fabric a little smaller so it's not in my way while I'm trying to stitch French knots. Ah! This is just some scrap. We don't care what it looks like. Okay. Oh, Gemma, what? Will you go answer the back door? We got somebody coming to visit. Okay. So French knots, depending on how many threads you're using and how many times you wrap it depends on how big your knot will be. So we're gonna do 3 strands and 6 strands, and we're gonna wrap it 1, 2, 3 times. And then we'll do some colonial knots down here. But I just want you to be able to see like the difference on what these look like, okay? So let's start with 3 strands. Let me grab my needle. Okay. What, Roman? I'll be done in about 30 minutes, buddy. Okay. French knots. We start in the back. And you're gonna need 2 hands. If you're not using a hoop stand, that's okay. This is how I've done this for a long time. So I kind of just like hold on. This is how I'm holding on to it. So wrap it 1 time and then go back down right next to it. If you go in the same hole, you might pull it through. So I go down like right next to it, hold this snug to the side, and then pull the needle through. Now, if you have it like too tight on your needle, it's gonna be harder to get that needle through and pull it tight. So don't be pulling things too tight. So up from the back, hold this to the side, wrap it 1 time. Whoop. Wrap it 1 time, down right next to it, pull your knot down to the bottom, and then push your needle through. If you're having a hard time getting your needle through, then you've twisted it around your needle too tight. So 2 wraps. We're gonna do the same thing. 1, 2, and then we're gonna go down right next to our hole. Whoops. 1, 2, go down right next to it, pull it to the bottom. Ah! 1, 2, whoops, 1, 2. If you're right here and you're not liking how it's looking, you can just pull your needle back out and try again, okay? Once your needle's through the back, you're kind of out of luck. So 1, 2, put that down, hold it snug, not too tight, and pull your needle through. Okay, so do you see that size difference? Now let's do 3. 1, 2, 3. Whoop. It's easier if you have a hoop stand, but if you don't, it's okay. It just is a little bit harder. Hold that down. One, two, three. Okay, so you can kind of see the size difference. The 3 wraps definitely poke up a lot more. They are a little bit bigger space there. Okay, so let me tie this off and then we'll do 6 strands just so you can kind of see the size difference on that as well. And then I'll show you colonial knots. If you don't love French knots, you'll probably like colonial knots. So no fear. So I just have 3 strands still on my needle. I'm just doubling it over and tying the ends together. So I have 6. Wrap once, back down. French knots are the bane of my existence. I like French knots. Those pieces that people do, like all French knots, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. But if you're gonna do them, they're easier if you have a hoop stand, if you're gonna do a bunch of them. Okay, so there's one. This is similar size to this. Wrap 1, wrap 2. I'm gonna run out of thread, so I am not gonna do 2 of these ones. One, two, three. Okay. You see that size difference? Three wraps with 6 strands right here. Crazy. It's neat, I just don't have the patience with a ton at once, I don't think. Okay, so this is French knots, okay? Very fun. All right, let me tie this off and grab another piece of thread and we will do colonial knots. I think the biggest thing with French knots is just knowing that they're not gonna be perfect. Like they're just not. If you want something more perfect, a colonial knot is gonna be better, I think. For me personally, I'm able to get my colonial knots a lot more similar to each other than I am with French knots. French knots are just kind of crazy. Hello, hello, good morning. Well, evening for you. Okay, so with colonial knots, the size of your knot is determined by how many threads you're using. You don't wrap it extra times for bigger knots. So we're just gonna do a 3 strand and a 6 strand just so you can see the difference. And they are a little funny. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have our thread in a backwards C for colonial, but it's backwards. And we're gonna go up this way. Oh, hold on. We're gonna go up this way, and then we're gonna wrap this around this way. So we're gonna make like a figure 8 or an infinity sign or whatever you wanna call it. And then we're gonna pull it snug. Ah! It's hard to do on camera, and I have a really long thread. Hold on. Okay. So we're gonna wrap it this way and then around this way. So we have a figure 8. Okay? And then we're gonna pull it snug and go back down. I've never done colonial knots. Oh yeah, colonial knots are fun. they're a lot easier to get. Like once you figure them out, they are a lot easier. So I'm gonna do another one. So we're gonna go backwards C. We're gonna go this way, and then we're gonna wrap it up and around. Pull it snug, put our needle in, move our knot to the bottom. You could also do knots this way, like put it down on your lap or on a table or something. So same thing with the French knots. If you can't pull your needle through there, you've pulled it too tight. I tend to be more of a perfectionist, so if it isn't perfect, it bugs me. Yeah, maybe you should try colonial knots. I always have to remember to do a forward C. Yeah. I just did my lemon. I'm gonna do kiwi before dinner, I hope. There we go. Okay, so colonial knots, you can kind of see like these all look a little different, but these look a lot more similar to each other. This one's a little bit looser. That one's a little bit tighter. Okay, let's do 6 strands and then we will do our raspberries. So in order to get a bigger knot, do you need more strands? Yes. With a colonial knot, you need more strands to get a bigger knot. So like 6 or 12 or whatever. Okay, so we're gonna go backwards C, up through it, make our figure 8, back down, pull our knot to the bottom, and then pull it through. Okay, one more. Backwards C, up through it, around the top. I've seen people do colonial knots another way, so if this looks confusing, look up another video. I can't do it. I've seen people do it another way, and I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. So I teach it this way because that's how I do them. Okay, so there's that. So if you wanted to do 12 strands, I would do 6 doubled over. If you're trying to pull 24 threads through this, it's gonna be rough. So the other thing I like with French knots is you can make them fluffy. So like if you keep it really loose like this, then you've got this really pretty like fluffy knot. I do that a lot, like if I'm doing like bushes or stuff like that. Like I always do French knots that are like fluffy. They don't have to be like super tight. Just keep that thread loose. And if it gets really out of control, you can come up on the side and go back down through the middle and like tack it down. If my French knots get out of control, I do that a lot. Because then this is where we went down the first time, and then I just did another, like tacked it down on this side. Knots are fun. Okay, should we move on to our project? This is just a throwaway scrap, but if you want to practice French knots, try making a grid and just seeing like if you use 2 strands or 3 strands or 4 strands or 6 or whatever, and then how many times you wrap it, then you can kind of see, you can practice and see like what size looks, like how different sizes look. No, Roman, I'm not done, buddy. Okay, so I'm gonna put that aside. We're gonna get working on our raspberries. Whoa! I need this over here. Okay. So I'm going to use 6 strands because I like 6 strands. All right, I'm just gonna start. I don't want to start up here because then I'll have a knot up there where the greenery will be. So I'm gonna start down here. So my knot is over here. And I'm gonna do 3 wraps. And I'm gonna keep mine pretty loose. What I like about things like this, oh, maybe that's too big. Like where you're just filling a space with French knots is you can kind of just practice. You can practice what, so I'm gonna do 2 wraps and keep them loose and see if I like that better. But like, this isn't gonna matter too much. Like it's not the main part of it. If they don't turn out great, like it's not a big deal. It's a great way to practice because you're gonna have a whole bunch of French knots in there together. So if one's not perfect, you won't be able to tell because there's so many other ones around it. So I'm just gonna do like a quick border and then we'll start filling it in. So if you're pulling this tighter, you could probably get away with 3 wraps. I mean, you could get away with whatever you want to do. You could do really small ones. Oh, this color is 815. 6 strands of 815. Pulled that one too tight. It's hard to get my needle through. Okay, so if you ever get like a knot like this, I hold my needle thread tight so that it doesn't like get crazy, and then I pull this knot out. But if you keep this like pulled tight over here, you're not gonna have as big of a problem with like that knot getting messed up. See, my thread is too long, that's why it keeps knotting. So I'm using my needle now, but underneath with my other hand I'm holding it tight so that it doesn't get too out of control. That's another thing, if you're using too long, if you keep getting knots like this, you're probably using a thread that's too long. Like use a shorter. Oh man. This one's a bad one. My thread is way too long. Shoot. What is going on here? Got like a knot and a French knot. My thread is not happy with me. Come on, come on. The problem with knots is like, once you've started doing French knots like this, they're all connected. Like you can't just like stop doing them. So I can't just like cut this off. So you kind of have to just mess with it and get it out. So bear with me for a minute here while we work this out. What is the source? Gemma, are the cats getting into your breakfast? I thought I heard them. Okay. Make sure they have food and water and they'll probably quit bugging you.
They do have food and water.
Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is an intense knot. Okay, buddy. I'm not done yet, and I will make you breakfast when I'm done. Holy bananas, look at this knot. You guys, this is an intense one. Okay, watch it again. Gemma, will you help him turn that movie on again?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I got it. All right, now I've got this big giant ball of awfulness. There's our French knot right there in the middle. So that's fabulous. Okay, so, what do I want to do? I have quite a bit of slack right here. So I am gonna cut it here and tie it off in the back. And just cut that knot out. If I didn't have slack, I'm not sure what I would do. Welcome to the journey of stitching. You will run into problems. I guarantee it. Hopefully yours is not during a live video, but you know, we all just do what we can. Alrighty, there we go. Okay. That's fun. It happens to everyone. So I hope you don't feel like it only happens to you, because it definitely doesn't only happen to you. All right, trying again. Here we go. Okay, so once I've got a bunch in there, I'll just start filling in spaces. Oh, I picked up a tail. We're just gonna fill that shape until it's full. But filling a shape with knots is, I personally think, the greatest way to learn or to get better at French knots, because look, once they're that close, like, it doesn't matter what one looks like because there's so many of them. But this is why I like French knots. I feel like it's just like, it's a little bit relaxing. Uh-oh. There we go. So when I'm working around an edge, I usually come up on the edge and then I go down like inside the shape instead of the other way around, because I feel like then it lays a little flatter, like towards the center rather than like poking out on the outside. Like it kind of just like pulls it into the center. Does that make sense? Okay, the other thing while you're doing French knots is your thread will start to get twisted. Let me zoom out and show you. Like, look how twisted this is. If I let it go, it'll just start like twisting up. So one thing I do is I just let my needle hang and untwist. Like if it's starting to get really twisted and you can tell and it's like affecting your knots, then stop for a minute and untwist your thread, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, let's see. Where else do we need one? Okay. I think that's it. I gotta bend this down a little bit so I can look at it. Yeah, that's good. Now, if you have any that you're looking at and you think, "Gall, this is sticking up way farther than the rest of them," then do that trick I showed you and come up next to it and go down in the center and kind of tack it down a little bit. Nobody's gonna know. Oh, that one's hard to get through the thread fabric. Hey, you guys, stop for a minute. Where did you get your hoop stand? I have one, but I'm not in love with it. I am not in love with this one, to be honest with you. That is not going down in that spot. I gotta try another spot. Hold on. If anyone has a hoop stand that they just absolutely love, message me and I will put it in my stories later today. Because I don't really want to recommend this one. It's not my favorite. Hey, Roman. Roman. Ooh, there we go. But anyways, tack down any stray ones if you need to. So this is my second one, my second hoop stand, and the first one I didn't love, and this one I didn't love. I've seen a lot of people that like the Nurge, N-U-R-G-E hoop stands, but I've never used it. But if anyone has a recommendation, please share with the group. Okay, so we're gonna do some little greenery on top. We're just gonna do it similar to the strawberry. So I've got 3 strands of 8.95. I'm just gonna do a couple lazy daisies and a little stem, and we will call this raspberry done. Okay, let me bend this a little bit down so I can see what I'm doing. Can you still see? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna start up at the top. We're just gonna be right on top of that line there. Tack that down. All right, so now just be careful where you're putting your needle up and down in these knots. Like you don't need to be in a knot, so you can go like right next to it and be totally fine. And you don't have to try and get crazy. Do one more.
Mom, can I go on your treadmill?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know.
Yep, 5 looks good. And then I'm just gonna do a little tiny stem. And then we're gonna call this raspberry done. There we go.
Mom, where's my hat? Where's my hat?
Where's your hand? Oh, is it in your sleeve?
No.
Okay, there's our raspberry. The shape got a little out of control. So
In my paper. My hat.
do that.
Hello.
Okay, shh, I'm almost done. All right, friends, let me know how that's going. If you're sharing in your stories, let us know if you did French knots or colonial knots, just so people can see the difference. Colonial knots will look a little bit more uniformed, but you can see like this first one I did was 3 wraps, and you can tell it's bigger than like some of these other ones around it, which doesn't bug me, but I'm just letting you know, like French knots are not going to be the exact same all over. So anyways, good luck with that. And yeah, if anyone has hoop stand recommendations, send me a message and I will share those. I've shared them in the past. I'll have to see. Maybe they're still in my archive and I can maybe share them again. So let me know and have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.